Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Contractor, and welcome to our Best of Success podcast show. It is such an honor to have with me some of the folks from Antis Roofing out in California. Charles, let's start with you. Charles, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Charles Antis, the founder and chief people awakener here at Antis Roofing in Irvine, California. And yes, thank you for telling me, oh yeah, we need to report on the rescue efforts, what's going on here. But I knew I needed to bring on the actual people who are granularly working with me to get it done. And that's why I brought my COO, Susan, who I'm going to introduce in a second, but Susan, who's also on the board of the American Red Cross. And I brought in the founder of the California Love Drop, who right there when rescue efforts are being done with meals, as he's going to tell you is going on this Sunday with the American Red Cross in LA. They're going to tell you these stories, and Wing Lam's the founder of Wahoo's Fish Tacos. So I sort of did it slowly. Susan DeGrassi, you know her. She's on the National Roofing Board. Susan DeGrassi runs my company, and we have a magic culture and brand here because we both are aligned in purpose, and right now we have to do something. And then there's Wing Lam, who the founder of not only this incredible restaurant chain, Wahoo's, but also is right there in community because something happens the moment there's a disaster and certain people wake up and they don't know what it is, but something is not whole in us unless we contribute. And that's why they're on here with me. They're going to tell you exactly what's going on in our area. And mostly it's through organized teams, Susan will tell you, that are already set up to do that thing that we do best, keep people fed, keep people safe and dry. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Charles, so much. Susan, yes, please tell everybody who you are.
All right, Susan DeGrassi, President and COO at Antis Roofing. I've been on the American Red Cross Orange County Chapter Board for many years. I'm the Vice Chair currently, incoming Chair. Our chair is actually deployed as a volunteer at one of the shelters. And what Charles was alluding to as we get into how can we help, and you're going to hear this with Wing, follow the lead of a nonprofit partner or a government agency that is trained and prepared in disaster response. The best intentions aren't always helpful. When you're in a disaster, people first think food, water, clothing. Be sure that is what is actually needed and that there is an organized response that you can participate in. And Wing, this is probably a good segue, is how did you do that? You have a long relationship yourself with the American Red Cross. How did you do that versus just driving your Wahoo's truck up to LA and trying to be helpful?
Yeah, Wing, thank you for joining us. Tell us who you are.
Well, my name is Wing and Lam, and I'm the co-founder of Wahoo's Fish Taco and the California Love Drop. I know I get all the credit, but without Charles, this wouldn't be possible. But the key here is everybody wants to jump in, but you got to ask the people in charge, hey, what is it that you guys need? Meals, supplies, everything is in place. So instead of us just trying to go up there, call the people in charge, the American Red Cross. So we're teamed up with them in the frontliners, the police and fire departments. So on Sunday, we gather a bunch of chefs together and we're preparing 1,000 meals. But more important than that is they needed water. They needed energy drinks. They need more than just the food because you're going to get thirsty when you're, hungry. So we're organizing all that. So on Sunday, our whole group will be gathering and we'll be driving our vehicles with all the food and all that. So tomorrow, everybody's prepping. And Sunday, we're loading and going. So we're not exactly sure at the moment. I got to figure out the logistics. But between the Pasadena area, it seems to be where the biggest hubs are of the volunteers, the frontliners. Not as many in the Santa Monica, Palisades area, but a lot in the Pasadena area. So we're going in and basically using the American Red Cross as our guide to let us know where it's needed the most. So sometimes good intentions without good directions, it's not a really good plan. It's business. You got to have a game plan, and then you got to have the people to execute. So together, between Antis Roofing and Wahoo's, we're able to do what needs to be done quickest, fastest, and most effective.
And what Wing didn't tell you, and what you don't know, most people don't know, is what when Wing says we founded the California Love Drop, that happened during COVID, during May of 2020, when everything was shut down. He had food with all of his restaurant chain, but there were all these people that were frontliners that were protecting us: doctors, police, fire. So when everything else was shut down, all of our Meals of Love at Ronald McDonald House, all of our builds at Habitat were shut down. Wing organized this thing, and the guy driving the car with him, Eric, was there too. He was critical in the beginning. We organized all of this resources, and we showed up to thank those who protect us and keep us safe. And it continues to this day. And right now, there's a whole posse of teams. Team Rubicon's up there. There's all these incredible teams that are prepared for disaster relief. But they need food, they need water, they need thank yous, they need cheers, and that's what the Love Drop does, and that's what we do well. So when I called Wing this morning, I giggled when he already was involved with Susan's organization, which we're so enmeshed with, because Wing is with the California Love Drop, bringing food, Monster Energy, Yogurtland, tacos. He's bringing it to every donor who's donating their blood, and we've had 152 blood drives. So my point is people that show up know there's an obligation to show up when things hit the fan. And a day like today and a week like this week, it's like we all show up together. I've seen it bubbling up on social media. A lot of it's not that granular yet. It's like this 1,000-meal drive happening, but it's starting to happen. And like Susan's point, it only really can get concrete steps if it's through those organizations that have been there, done that, and are prepared to efficiently do that again.
Well, again, we really appreciate everyone's insight, because there's been a lot of scary things we're seeing, but from a business perspective, especially what's happening, what everybody in the roofing, really the construction industry can help with. First of all, Charles, is everybody at Antis Roofing, is everyone safe? Did anyone lose their home?
Well, I'd let Susan answer that.
Okay.
Susan knows more than me.
Yeah, we don't have any employees that are living in or even working in the affected areas right now.
Okay.
We're about 60 miles south of that. So yes, people are safe. Our customers, which are homeowners associations, we haven't learned of any that were in particular affected by this. But what's important to note is this isn't over. We have more winds coming next week. It's 8% humidity. We haven't had rain in 8 months. And just because we are, 60 miles away today, we are all on high alert in Southern California, Los Angeles, out to the Inland Empire and down into Orange County. So hopefully this is the end of it, but we all are being very mindful, listening to the news, and just be on high alert and follow the direction of whatever the agencies are giving to you.
It does affect
Susan,
our partners. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, so Susan, tell me about your crisis management plan. Do you have already one in place, and did you just pull out that sheet of paper and be like, okay, here's 1 through 10, what we need to do? Like, did it kind of evolve as things were evolving with these fires? What kind of walk us through what you did? Because clearly it's not like it's so devastating.
Yeah. It is, we do have a crisis management plan. We dust it off every year. I always thought it might be in response to a major earthquake. We haven't had to implement it other than being mindful of where employees live and how the fires move. And the first step is because we haven't had any power outages, anything that affects our ability to do business other than employees getting on the road. And that's probably our first action step. If we learn something, is to keep them in place for 2 reasons. One, to keep them safe and not to clog the arteries that are how people are getting in and out of burn aareas. So, yes, we do have one. Did you know that, Charles? I'll bet you just assumed it.
Of course you did.
Yesterday you rolled out the Tier 1 and Tier 2 drought plan. Are you kidding me?
That's right.
Levels.
Yeah.
We got levels of prepare.
And so, Wing, so tell me, so what is your plan for Sunday? So you're going to be bringing out food and water and who are you bringing that food and water for? The first responders, and where are you taking that?
Yeah, right now the game plan is to go to the Pasadena area with the frontliner, like the police department and the American Red Cross, because they're the officials, basically
Right.
in charge of distributing all that. And basically, we're packing and loading. So right now, my Sprinter van is already loaded with a few pallets of product, and we're all gathering and we're all going. So we might be all seeing each other Sunday morning again.
You know,
For
and
sure.
I might mention that last night, see, it's all these little stories. We can't catch them all, but yesterday at 4:30, I saw our visual storyteller, Bobby, leaving his car. Where are you going? Oh, going to Ronald McDonald House. Wings there. A bunch of the fire victims are staying down here now. So and that's where Corey went. In fact, I was going to go, but I realized, even though I was wearing the socks like Wing, I'm not the board member. Corey is. So I let Corey go run that. But there's stories happening all around us, and it's affecting all of our people. Like we have a relationship with media, and one of our major news stations that we have a great relationship in Los Angeles, we had a scheduled conversation yesterday, and Corey called the producer, and she said, "I'm sorry, I can't focus. I'd have no home to go to." So there's a lot of people that we're partnered with that have lost their safe and dry home. In fact, there's 10,000 people
Right.
that are permanently lost a place. There's a lot more than that evacuated. There's 1,500 structures burnt. There's a lot of damage. And so, like Susan said, the tail of this is going to hit us in a lot of ways. And in the area that people assume it's just affluent people. I heard that already coming back, and wow. First of all, affluent people get hungry and thirsty and need a safe place. But second of all, there's probably a lot more stories you're going to hear about
Sure.
those people that are struggling, that now have no safety barrier, that don't have those basic things that we all need, like food and shelter. And, sometimes we can't pause and see that, but God, I wish we could every day. It's our obligation to make certain everyone in our community has food and has a safe, dry home. It's not that hard if we just keep our eyes open. And right now is a super important time that we do that.
Well, I'm really glad to know that everybody on your team is safe. So, because you guys are the first responders when it comes to helping the community. There's no doubt. What if there's any other contractors that are listening across the country that want to help, where's the best place? What do you recommend? Where's the best place for them to go to help donate?
I would say, I would say start with the Red Cross. We will send to you, Jill, a list of resources out here. In terms of recovery and actually using their skilled labor to assist, I think that's going to come later and get organized a different way. This is so massive that the first, and something everybody can do is donate dollars to the Red Cross. Above all, that's what they need to operate their, all the programs that they offer, the shelters, etc. And it doesn't maybe feel quite as satisfying as being on the scene, but know you're doing good by just simply that act.
We'll send you a list. We'll also include the California Love Drop, which is that effort to go give that joy and relief to those people that are really have their boots on.
Yeah, so Susan, you just mentioned that if there's still more winds coming and there could be more fires even next week. If you guys needed to evacuate, Charles, what would you do? Where do you go? What's your plan? Like if you need to leave, evacuate.
This happened to us about 5 years ago when the Orange County fires. I was the guy that knew it all. Oh, honey, you don't have to worry about a fire. And then the day I'm at work and we're getting fire warnings at our house, and Dawn says, my wife says, "Where are you? Why aren't you home?" And I said, "Oh, honey, it won't hit our house." Next thing you know, she's stuck. She can't drive out. There's not enough traffic. There's too much traffic for the streets, and she's worried she's going to suffocate in the car. And here I am, not home. And so I've learned that this, like Susan said, we're not out of the woods. These winds are, as my wife said yesterday, the worst wind she's ever experienced in her life, having grown up in Orange County. And so we're very nervous it could happen again. And so what it requires with fire is very high alert. You're always living in that. You're never living in that green condition. You're always in that slightly yellow condition with an eye open. And if anything happens with fire, it's an immediate evacuation, grabbing what you need. That's what we learned from the last fires. That's what we've learned from all of the California and Oregon fires we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. It's immediate response, and that's what I'm prepared to do. And if I wouldn't, my wife wouldn't let me ever come home again because I failed. It's one of those things I don't want to do again, and I always remember it. In the case of emergency preparedness and fire, as we've learned in California, oh my God, it's getting worse, not better.
Okay. Well,
and Jill, in terms of the rest of our employee population, the first thing that we do is have them stay in place. Don't worry about, we might have to shut down the company for a day. We had to do this during the pandemic. People first, make sure they're safe. A lot of people commute in, and so they're 45 minutes, an hour away from their home and their family. That puts a lot of stress on them. We still pay them when we're in crisis situations like this, but take care of that first and listen to the direction. Where would we go? It all depends on what's going on and where you head. In this case, people were told to head south. But in those pocketed areas, take that direction and just stay in place and take care of your family. And I think that's what any employer can do to provide reassurance and create less stress on their employees in a time of where people have a lot of fear, right? And legitimately, they should have a lot of fear.
Yeah. No, it's tough. I mean, this is something I've never seen before. So we're grateful for. Go ahead, Charles.
I just want to say I'm really proud. First of all, I'm really proud to have an association with you, Jill. Thank you for having me last month speak at Best of Success. It's an honor to speak because you always ask the question that's important right now. But also, I really want to thank my team, and by team I mean not only Susan and our team here. The fact that I know they're the type of leaders that feel that weight with me. It's not affecting me right now. Look at the beautiful sunsets we're getting in Orange County. I mean, honestly, we have these crazy, beautiful sunsets. But in that, we can't help but wake up and know there's an obligation for us to help out. And I'm so grateful that I have that same thing. In fact, with Corey and me and Susan, it all hit us yesterday. We didn't regroup till late in the evening, but we got to write a check. And the next thing you know, there's a check going out. And we both know there might be a check going behind it. And there's efforts like what's going on last night and what's going on Sunday. And there's going to be a lot more. And I think I want to say one more thing. If you're that business who's reluctant to give, I want to say it is your obligation to give if you live in this community. Hey, we appreciate your dollars across the country, and I know that some of you people are going to give, and I thank you for your generosity. But if you're a CEO and you operate a business and you sell to Los Angeles, then if you had this business 100 years ago and you were creating this land and you were clearing out trees, you would have to pay for the fire. You would have to bring in the rescue. You would have to pay for the schools. You would have to pay for the doctors' salaries, just like what happened. What got into your brain that thinks that you own it all? No, you have an obligation to give back to your employees and take care of them, and you have an obligation to everybody you sell to take care of that community. And that's why Wing's here, that's why Susan's leading my company, and that's why we're thriving, by the way. I don't understand how it all works, but we are thriving because we fulfill that obligation to give back to community, even when it freaking hurts, like it does right now, but we're still doing it. So thank you for letting me say that, because I needed to say that.
Absolutely, Charles. Well, there's nobody more generous than you, and I love your passion. You really just rally the troops to get everybody together to make some really good things happen. So, Wing, is there anything else you'd like to share with what's happening?
I just hope that the winds don't change too much in the south area, right? Because there's been enough damage going on. And we're right now, like I said, all the teams, we're going out. We got waters, we got energy drinks. We got our friends at Vans going out today as we speak. They're out at an Elks Lodge passing out shoes to the people that need it. So everybody's doing what they can when they can. So this is a great team effort.
Yes, most definitely. Well, thank you for all of you are doing to help those first responders. I can't even imagine how stressed out they all are trying to just, keep things under control. And hopefully it's looking like it's under control. But so again, we got the folks here from Antis Roofing and Wing. Tell me again your name of your restaurant.
It's called Wahoo's Fish Taco, and I've been in business almost as long, and actually a little bit longer than Antis, but we're in this thing together.
I love it. Well, again, thank you all for joining me. If anybody has any questions for us, it's roofingcontractor.com. While you're there, make sure you sign up for all our free content so you can stay up to date in all the great interviews we are doing, especially like we are today with Wing and the folks at Antis. But please stay safe and healthy, and we can't wait to talk to you soon.